Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be all about the world's most expensive foundation. Yes, I bought the Prairie Skin Caviar foundation and concealer so you don't have to. I'm going to be sharing all of the information, all of my thoughts, a demo, wear test, and let you know whether I think this is worth anything like that insanely high price point. If you've ever considered buying this, if you've been intrigued, if you're not sure if it could possibly be worth half of that price tag, I'm here to solve the mystery for you. I spent my money on this, so hopefully you don't have to. Let's all pray it's an utter disaster and we all collectively hate it. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so this foundation, it will set you back. Wait for it, drum roll, take a deep breath and please be seated. It's £225. Or $280 for those of you who are in the US, and that will get you 30 mils plus 2 grams of concealer. As per the brand, natural looking colour perfects the complexion in this dewy foundation and exquisitely matched concealer. Infused with caviar extract, the luxurious cream emulsion offers full coverage and the concealer camouflages under eye darkness and deeper imperfections. The infinitely flawless finish to your skin caviar ritual. The skincare claims in this foundation with that caviar extract are that it will help support the skin's firmness and elasticity. So it's very much one that is sort of aimed at a youthful complexion and skincare science with makeup combined. So let's take a look at this bottle and all of the details with the packaging. So here is the bottle close up. You can see the shade in the center there, and you get this little brush that sits on this little throne that the foundation all comes with together. The concealer sits in this top part of the bottle, and it does have a mirror in the lid there, perfect for touch-ups on the go. And then the foundation itself is inside here, and you get this plastic spatula, which is quite a unique and not overly desirable little touch there. So I'm not 100% sure on the shade range of this foundation. Well, I am sure that it's awful, abysmal, not good enough, certainly not enough deeper shades. I'm not sure at all on how many shades are available in this foundation, because everywhere I look where this foundation is available has a different number of shades. The most that I can seem to find is 19. Some places have 16 shades available in the foundation, others have less. The most I could find available anywhere was 19 shades. So I'm not entirely sure how many shades. There seems to be different shades available in the US to the UK as well. So I went with the shade Honey Beige, which is NW30, and it was a almost perfect match for my winter skin tone. It's slightly more yellow, slightly warmer undertone than my natural skin tone, but being an olive undertone, that's pretty much as good as it gets across most foundations. There are very few foundations that perfectly match my undertone, so it's certainly a good enough shade match that I was happy with it and very, very relieved when it arrived. I will of course put the ingredients list up now so that you can see if there's anything that may irritate your skin or anything that you are allergic to or have a sensitivity to. So that is very important if you are going to spend this amount on a foundation. Of course, you want to be able to use it every single day of your life. Now, I want to also be very, very clear before we jump into the demo and see this foundation in action on my skin. I did not pay £225 for this. You know me better than that. I have wanted to try this foundation for years. I've always had my eye on it. I've just always thought I do not want to spend that amount on a foundation. It just seems so outlandish. But over time, curiosity got the better of me. I've always wondered about it. Anyone who I've seen use this foundation has actually loved it. And although nobody that I've ever watched talk about this foundation has ever said the price point is justified, I have noticed that everybody who uses it actually loves it and thinks it's beautiful, very annoyingly. So I've always been curious. I've always thought, I wonder if I could see or find a reason for that price point. I want to use it on the skin and make my own mind up. And I also want to take one for the team, okay? One, if you're a shade twin of mine and you want to know a sort of safe bet of a shade to try. And two, I'd rather spend my money, and if it's wasted, it's wasted, and at least we got a fun video out of it. If you were to spend that amount of money on this foundation and it didn't work for you, or it just wasn't worth it, that's your hard-earned money in the bin and not a video to show for it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I'd rather waste my money so you don't have to. But I did get it for almost half price. There was a sale on, I think I bought this during like the Black Friday offer spectacular that goes on every year. And because I got this from Cult Beauty, I also had a load of points to save up. So I got this for almost half the amount that the price tag actually should have been. So I felt very smug with myself, and that's a price point that I felt slightly more able to digest because it's around the same amount as my Tom Ford shade Illuminate that I absolutely love and adore. It is my holy grail. So I want to see, is this worth the price tag? Is there anything I can discover that justifies it? Is there anything about this foundation and concealer that makes me understand the price point? Is it worth it to me? Is it worth it to you? How does it look on the skin? How does it wear? What's the concealer like? Because I feel like no one ever uses the concealer whenever I've seen reviews of this. So we're going to do it all today. We're going to try the foundation, the concealer, we're going to do a wear test, and I'm going to share all of my thoughts, having been trying this out for weeks, so that I can let you know everything you need to know when considering spending 200 plus more pounds of your hard-earned money on a foundation. So let's jump into the demo and see how this actually looks on the skin. Okay, so as per the usual, I have primed my skin with my Tom Ford Soft Matte Primer because I know it's 100% foolproof. It works with every foundation I've ever tried. So I can guarantee that if something weird or undesirable occurs when I'm trying out a new foundation, it's the foundation and not my primer, because I know that primer will never let me down. So the first thing you may notice when you open your La Prairie foundation is the fragrance. It's a sort of mixture of like a luxury skincare scent with a little bit of fragrance. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm just going to use the spatula. This is like a plastic spatula. I'm going to start applying. Now I like to use a sponge with this foundation. I've really been enjoying sponge application recently. I don't know what's happened to me because I've always been a foundation brush girl. But just recently, I really have been enjoying a bit of sponge action. And the thing about this foundation is that's a very light layer applied with a damp beauty blender, which, as we know, it will soak up some of the product. So you will lose some of the product to the sponge more so than you will a brush. But do you see how quickly and easily that's covered so beautifully and seamlessly? This is the before. And this is a very light layer. It is absolutely the most natural looking foundation I think I can remember, certainly with the amount of coverage that you can achieve. So I'm just going to build this where my redness is. I'm going to add a little to the forehead. And I will say, as much as I would have preferred a pump with this foundation, that spatula really does allow you to add the tiniest amount. And given that this is so extortionately expensive, I love that you can really control how much you're using and you can really just build it exactly where you want it. So this is a full half face done. versus the before. My redness, not really having a tough time today. It's warm in here, I've got the heating on, but it's not super angry, but you can still see, you know, I've got a fair amount of redness there. And here, everything just looks so beautifully evened out, skin-like, natural, silky. Let's try this side. The one thing that I feel like is actually quite unique to this foundation, in my experience, is the way it feels on the skin. It is absolutely, utterly undetectable. You cannot feel that you have any makeup on, and you can achieve, you know, a full coverage finish amount of coverage. You can absolutely get to full coverage with this foundation, but it will still feel and look invisible. You cannot feel this foundation on the skin. It is totally and utterly weightless, and I feel like so many foundations claim to be weightless, but they're actually lightweight as opposed to weightless, whereas this foundation actually, in my opinion, is completely weightless. Even built up a fair amount, like today, because I want to show you the coverage you can get with it, it still doesn't feel like I'm wearing anything on the skin. So if you're someone who is bothered by, you know, heavyweight feeling, or feeling like you've got a lot of product on your skin, this is an excellent foundation for just feeling like there's nothing on your skin other than some beautiful skincare. So here is the foundation built up to, I would say, a natural full coverage. Absolutely gorgeous finish. Look at that glow. That will die down a little as it dries a little, but it's so flawless, so flattering. The shade is pretty spot on for me, for my winter skin tone. You know, lines and everything are just completely flawlessly blurred. Absolutely stunning. So I am going to use the concealer in this foundation because I feel like so many people, when they're demonstrating this foundation, we never get to see the concealer, and I feel like it's just because people don't love it as much as the foundation. And the foundation is, you know, what we're paying the big bucks for, but ultimately it's very, very expensive. So I feel like if you aren't going to use the concealer at all, it's such a waste of money. So I do want to show you the concealer, and as you can see, the colour is perfectly balanced to the foundation shade. So it's like one shade lighter than the foundation, and this is the brush that it comes with. And again, you don't need a lot. That's a tiny amount, and it is like a solid cream foundation, so a little goes a long way. And this concealer could absolutely be built up, and it's perfect for touch-ups because, you know, you can pop this in your handbag and you don't have to worry about a mess. You could literally dab a finger if you need to touch up throughout the day, which I do appreciate the benefits of that. You can build this as well. You can see there I've still got a bit of discoloration peeking through, so I'm just building it up there a little. So there you have the concealer unset, so you can just see. One thing I don't love about this concealer is it has a more radiant finish, which I think complements the foundation beautifully, but it's just not my preference. When it comes to a concealer, I definitely prefer something a bit more matte. Under my eyes, I just feel like it's a bit more blurring, and it's a bit more helpful to disguise sort of crepiness or lines under your eyes. But it has some amazing coverage, and you do only need a tiny amount, so it's absolutely worth using and not just ignoring, because I think it's a really nice concealer. It's just not my personal preference for a finish, but I think it's beautiful. I think it looks gorgeous and natural under the eyes, and again, like the foundation, it feels very lightweight, not quite as lightweight as the foundation, but lightweight for an under eye concealer. And it is lovely and brightening under the eyes, I've noticed. I'm just going to set that now, like all of my concealers, with the Givenchy loose powder. So let's have a close-up look at the foundation, which I would say has pretty much dried down to its final finish. Now, really beautiful, soft, luminous bit of glow to it. Really flattering on texture on my forehead, on those little lines. No sinking into smile lines at all. In fact, they look like they've been airbrushed away. And the concealer, also really underrated. I think it's beautiful. It's not as full coverage as my House Labs, so I can still see some darkness peeking through. I'd say the concealer is a bit more of a medium coverage, or like one of those concealers, the many concealers that claim to be full coverage, but still have some darkness peeking through. I feel like the House Labs is the only concealer that actually it gives me like nothing showing through at all. So this is pretty much akin to like any other full coverage concealer, just not quite as much full coverage as my House Labs. Let's finish the rest of my makeup so you can see how everything looks on top. Okay, so here is the foundation with makeup on top. Today I used my Chanel Reve De Camelia, the new Dior bronzer, and one of the new YSL blushes, shade 12 Nocturnal Nude. And this is what everything looks like. It's undeniably a gorgeous foundation. I feel like it's so flattering and youthful. It's juicy and plump, and it's so smooth but fresh. It's so natural and like undetectable and skin-like on the skin. And even now with like a full face of makeup on, I feel like there's nothing on my skin, nothing on my face whatsoever. The foundation has been on 20 minutes, I'd say, since I applied it. And again, even touching the skin, it doesn't feel like you've got makeup on to touch. It's slightly tacky still, and it is a more luminous, although it's a sort of soft luminosity finish, so it won't completely dry down and set and be transfer proof, but it isn't one that is quite sticky and very prone to transferring either. What do you guys think? Is this worth 200 or so pounds? Okay, so I did do a 8-hour wear test for you so you can see what this foundation looks like after 8 hours. But this foundation is not brand new to me. I have been testing this out over the last like month or so and really getting to know how it wears. And really the only sort of signs of visible wear around the 8-hour mark is that little bit of shininess around the nose, to the sides of the nose where those natural oils are starting to come through, and it's slightly shinier on my forehead than at the start of the day. And what I found after the 8-hour mark, I've worn this foundation several times for more so 10, 12 hours. And when I come to take my makeup off at the end of the day, it basically looks exactly the same at 8 hours as it does at 10, 11, 12 hours. There's really no further sort of shininess. It doesn't start to fade. It wears beautifully well unset, no setting spray for a solid 9-10 hours, I would say, without anything really noticeable at all other than a slight bit of shininess as my oils start to come through. It's undoubtedly a beautiful foundation. I think it looks gorgeous on the skin. I have no regrets at finally giving this a try. I also think because of the applicator, that little spatula, and because you use such a small amount to get such a great amount of coverage, it will last you a lot longer than your typical liquid foundation where you might use a few pumps every time you use it, and that will be a lot more than a couple of touches with the spatula. So I like that it's really easy to control how much you're applying, because if you're going to spend over £200 on a foundation, you want this to last, you know, if you were to use this every day, it's got to last you like a year. Okay, this is obviously an investment. It's obviously a very luxurious price point and you want to be able to get use out of it. So that being said, I think it perfectly serves that purpose because it is such a good everyday foundation. It's more natural. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't look too makeup-y. It wears beautifully, perfectly well enough to wear, you know, to a 9 to 5, a regular office job. It's not going to make a mess. It's not going to look heavy or too much. It's going to look effortless and natural and very flattering, and it's going to wear beautifully throughout the day. So I feel like it ticks the boxes you would want to tick if you were interested in this foundation. Now, people ask me all the time, especially when something is expensive, and this is at the absolute peak of expensive when it comes to foundations. The question I always get is it worth it? And I honestly find myself to be very, very annoying because I don't like to answer that question. Not that it's some secret, but I feel it's actually impossible to answer that question for anyone other than myself. You know, whether something is worth it or not is completely personal to you. If you don't really wear a lot of foundation, if you don't care that much about makeup, if you want something that is more matte or that is completely bulletproof, because the answer to that question lies so much in your personal preferences and circumstances and your finances and how much money this is to you personally. So my answer to the question of is this worth £225 to me, I don't think so. I feel for me, although there are nice touches with the packaging, I don't appreciate this little stand and the silly stand-up brush, and the bottle itself I don't find to be particularly luxurious. It's very travel friendly and very practical, but for me, if I'm spending £200+ on a foundation, I want a gorgeous glass bottle that's very luxurious, and I want a pump as well, although I do see the benefits to using a small amount with this. I would also say, as much as it is a gorgeous foundation, and I don't regret the purchase because I've always wanted to try this and I got, you know, a great deal and a big saving on it when I did purchase it, it's not so different or so much more wow than other foundations that are a quarter of the price. I would say this is quite comparable to my Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate, that although also a crazy price point, half the price of this one. The Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate I actually prefer because it's glowier, a little glowier than this one. I also would say that this is similar to the Nude Le Tint Glow as far as the finish. So I feel like you can get very similar effects from foundations that are sort of £40 to £50, a regular price point for a luxury foundation with a more beautiful bottle. So I don't personally see a reason why this is 4 or 5 times more than your average high-end luxurious foundation. I don't care about skin care and makeup because it's not really touching my skin. I've got SPF, I've got primer and then foundation. I don't really believe the skincare ingredients, as wonderful and active as they may claim to be, are really getting into my skin via a foundation, and I have skincare that does that job, so I don't care about that. So for me, this is definitely, there's nothing about this that makes sense of the price tag to me. Not the packaging, not the amount you get, not the fact that it also has the concealer in there, because, you know, you could buy a luxurious foundation and concealer and still be at the sort of £80 mark, so we're still missing, you know, £160. And also the limited shade range means that very few people are going to find a great shade in this foundation. And of course, if you are going to spend this amount of money on a foundation, it has to be a perfect match. Otherwise, I wouldn't even consider it. So the conclusion for me is it's beautiful foundation. I will undoubtedly use it until it is all gone and really enjoy it and really think it's a gorgeous, beautiful foundation. Do I think it justifies the price tag? No, absolutely not. It's of course a ludicrous price tag, and nothing I've experienced leads me to believe there's a reason that explains the price point. The only thing that I find to be even slightly special about it is the weightlessness, which honestly is not something that concerns me greatly when it comes to my makeup. So there you have it. Those are all of my thoughts on this ludicrously expensive foundation. I'd love to know all of your thoughts. If you've tried this, have you ever thought about purchasing it? Have you ever considered it, wanted to give it a try and see what that price tag is all about and what it gets you? Please let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and maybe it even saved you some money as I did the curiosity work for you. I would love to see you in the next video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.